Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to give it another minute or two to let everybody log in and get situated. And thank you for joining us today. Let us know in the chat where you're calling in from. We'd love to hear. Oklahoma. Oh, Germany, Massachusetts. I like this. Perfect. I'd love to see where everybody's from. Makes it much more exciting. Where else in the world are people calling in from? Gonna give it another 30 seconds and then we will get started. Oh, I love to see when people are here to support. Carmela, you got a fan base over here. Your hype crew is here from West Virginia, Wisconsin. Oh, we all need to go to Marburg, apparently in Germany. Oh, Carmela, you have a huge fan base. I love this. Dublin, Ohio. Amazing. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today and welcome to the Smartcat webinar. So today's discussion will explain how trailblazers from J&J, Cardinal Health, and also Millport Sigma are driving innovation in life sciences with language AI. So this will be a discussion of using AI translation to reduce risks, to create better outcomes, and also greater ROI in each of these roles. And we want you to learn from the challenges and also see the quick wins from each of their journeys. My name is Melissa Alonso. I'm the Director of Account-Based Experience at Smartcat, and I'm honored to be joined by our incredible panelists. So let me introduce them before we jump into the questions. Chris Guthrie is a Senior Manager of Commercial Education Strategy at Johnson & Johnson. She's passionate about solving complex learning challenges and is a dedicated and experienced L&D expert that enhances organizational performance through innovative learning strategies. Outside of work, she loves having adventures of parenthood with her energetic son, Colin, and traveling internationally with her husband, Khalif. Derek Phillips, who is a PhD and a digital training expert at Millport Sigma, is part of the commercial education team. In his current role as the digital training expert, he works alongside industry subject matter experts to design and implement dynamic global training initiatives. So the ability to leverage AI tools has facilitated global translation efforts, diversified user experience, and also led to the development of e-learning content that is more engaging than ever. As a lifelong learner, outside of work, he enjoys reading, writing, and amateur paranormal investigation. Carmela Richardson is the Learning and Development Leader from Cardinal Health. She's enjoyed more than 15 years committed to maximizing strengths and passions and inspiring innovation within learning teams. Currently, she and her instructional design and development team create learning for Cardinal Health, medical and pharmaceutical healthcare services, also professional products, and enterprise business groups. A favorite quote from Carmela is from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. So this is true both in and out of the boardroom. So just a few housekeeping items to get out of the way. Everybody but the panelists are currently muted, but feel free to send your comments or questions through the Q&A panel. We'd love to have your questions, so submit them throughout the presentation, and we'll save some time at the end to get to them. Before we get into the questions with our panelists, let me quickly cover the AI platform that's bringing us all together today. So at its core, Smartcat is the enterprise platform for all of your content creation and multilingual needs. What makes us unique is that our AI actually learns from your content and your employees' feedback. So we're not just another translation tool. We're the most essential language AI platform for enterprise businesses looking to scale globally without sacrificing quality. And let me just walk you through the end-to-end AI language workflow that you may be familiar with, or it might be new to you. So you actually upload your content in any of the 80 plus file formats. So you can use PowerPoint, JPEG, video, and many others, or you can use one of our 10 integration workflows with tools like Figma or Adobe Experience Manager. Our AI handles the initial translation across 280 languages. And then you have your internal staff or the Smartcat experts in our marketplace review and approve. So the files remain in their original format, eliminating post-translation editing work. Our time today will help you discover how this AI-driven innovation can help you simplify regulatory submissions, you can improve training effectiveness, and enable faster product launches, all while ensuring consistent terminology and brand usage. But enough from me. So let's get straight to our incredible panel. Thank you for your patience. So let me start with Derek. Derek, can you share a little bit about your role and how global communication plays a critical part in your organization's success?
I would love to. I would like to share a little bit of background about my career. I actually kicked things off in classroom language instruction, which sort of comes full circle with what we'll be talking about today. And as I started to add more curriculum work, more curriculum planning, and technology into my lesson plans, I found myself in the world of instructional design, as so many of us, I'm sure, on the call here today. It's kind of a slippery slope. When you start incorporating technology, you use more and more, and it's just more exciting. And so a couple of years ago, I ended up joining the Millipore Sigma team, as you mentioned, as the digital training expert for the commercial education team. And our role within this global organization is really to support the sales team, to create really dynamic training so that our salespeople can go out and sell products confidently and go through e-learning and all of our curriculum to be able to learn about products. And just as I was joining the team, there was this push to transform, honestly, our onboarding program, which had been primarily synchronous. It consisted primarily of ILTs, instructor led trainings. And like everyone else around 2020, we wanted to reduce seat time and also kind of transition to a more hybrid on demand program so people can learn at their own pace so that they can go into some of these in person or online, even online, but synchronous learning opportunities a little more prepared. They've done some pre work. And so, as part of that initiative, we started to realize there aren't a lot of tools out there that can effectively translate and prep more complex e learning courses, articulate, storyline, rise courses. There's this very specific file type, XLIFs, and Smartcat was able to translate those files instantly into a variety of languages. So throughout this process, we have actually translated our entire onboarding program into 6 languages and counting. And we've onboarded over 100 newcomers to the organization. So it really has transformed the way we do things.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. And I think that Chris, I would love to hear about kind of your background as well and how everything came together with SmartCat for your position.
Sure. So I'm a part of the strategic skills team with Johnson and Johnson, and one of the things I was tasked with is standardizing learning content across our primary region. So we have North America, we have our Asia Pacific region, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And what was happening is that content is primarily being developed in the United States and then being sent to other countries to manage translation. And in some instances, content was being translated. In other instances, it wasn't because it wasn't cost effective for other regions to do it. So you had this disconnect between content that was being developed and a lot of rework, right? For a lot of my partners in other countries, it was easier to just try to build the content from the ground up. But we knew that that wasn't a cost effective or, efficient time management approach. And we were looking for solutions. And funny enough, someone reached out to me from LinkedIn about Smartcat, went through the demonstration with them, requested a pilot, and that kicked things off. That's how I got started with Smartcat, with the goal of how can we be more efficient with our skills training? Content is built in the US. How can we better leverage it and build stronger partnerships with my colleagues from around the world?
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing that, Chris. And I'm glad that we found you on LinkedIn when the time is right. I feel like somehow the internet knows what you're needing sometimes. But tell me, I mean, I think this is a good way to ask Carmela, like, what were the challenges that your team was facing that made you look into AI translation solutions?
Sure. So, first of all, thank you to Chris and Derek for getting started, and to Smartcat for the opportunity to share, and to everybody that's on the call from wherever you are around the world. It's good to have you here. Um, I just want to acknowledge that there's a lot of people here doing a lot of great work, and we're one of many, though we have an exciting story in that some of the challenges we faced and the reason we went for a tool like Smartcat is not just some of the things that we'll get into, some of the savings around leveraging external vendors to manage translations for us in that process. Not only are we giving away lots and lots of dollars, but we have no control over how that work is done, who's engaged along the way, quality, regular quality checks, the ability to kind of meet us and our business where we are and where we want to be in terms of turnaround times. And so for us, it was a great opportunity to leverage a tool to help us meet the business where they are and where they wanted to be in turn. So we had one particular large annual program that serves our leaders across our organization globally. So in the past, we would do our best to deliver to our leaders here in the United States. And then following that effort, we would then implement, translated materials to other regions around the world. And from a user experience and timing perspective, it wasn't the standard that we wanted to go forward with. And so we knew that in bringing some of our translations efforts internally, we were going to need not only partners internally, but externally to help us do that. So the real impetus for us was really wanting to meet the business where they wanted to go, when they wanted to be there, and for us to be able to have better control and outcomes of the whole life cycle of a project that includes working with languages.
Yeah, I feel like Carmela, a lot of it is based around the quality and speed, but it's really about kind of the outcomes that we're able to deliver. So I know for Chris, for you, there was a lot of reasons why you were kind of looking into this as well. Do you want to kind of share a little bit about that?
So yeah, so in addition, to what Carmela and Derek has already mentioned and the cost savings, we wanted to improve the learner experience, right? So we know that learners are going to learn best when they are consuming content in their native language. So we wanted to give J&J is a global organization. It's a part of our credo. We care about our people, and we wanted to enhance that learner experience. And from a time efficiency standpoint, when you hire an external vendor, there's this back and forth of sending content, receiving content, doing quality checks on the content. One of the advantages when we reviewed the SmartCap platform is that it's all standardized in a centralized place. So there's not this external push and pull. You are uploading content into the platform. You can, make assignments of who's going to be reviewing it in different parts of the organization. And it's a single source management. You can set due dates. So it really provided like a single source way of managing our translation like our translation projects in order to enhance our learners experience. Like that's what we were going for, not knowing that we were going to be able to find a tool that could manage it so seamlessly.
That's great. So it's a little bit about delivering to kind of your end customers, but also the management for yourself to have that platform and to make it
Absolutely.
a lot easier for ease of use. But that's amazing. So I mean, was the AI powered translation something that was being driven as a priority from the organization, or is it something for all of you that you were like, we're already doing this, but how can we make this even better?
So no, I'll just quickly chime in here. So no, we weren't doing this. We were completely outsourcing, spending millions and millions of dollars on translation projects. And when I previewed the system, got that invite through LinkedIn, I was really excited about it, right? I know historically I think a lot of folks are scared about AI and its implications and its accuracy and its ethical standards. And our organization has a whole team that looks at software and, evaluates those things and evaluates the risk. And that's why we started off with a pilot to assess all of those internal concerns. But yeah, we weren't leveraging AI at the time that I piloted this back in 2023. So it was really nice to have an idea, be able to bring it to the organization, get approval for a pilot, and see the amazing results, which I know we'll talk about later on. Carmela and Derek.
Yeah, I think, for us also, like you, Chris, talking about what we were doing and weren't doing. So we were also outsourcing a lot. And any of the work that we were doing internally, we were leaning completely on internal resources. And that can be challenging. That can be challenging because that's not, there are folks with their day jobs, plus now supporting us on, being linguists and helping us through parts of that process, not to mention um, the engineering by our instructional designers and the time that it takes to do that. And so I'll just spill the beans now and say, we had folks from our instructional design team say we would not have wanted to do this major project that I alluded to earlier without this tool. So working backward from that, the learnings that we've had help us to be more nimble. They help us to maintain control over the materials that are in development, the timelines that we're responsible for. We're able to meet a larger number of learners all at once instead of having to stagger them because internal or vendor partner processes are more challenging without a tool like this. So I would say for us, organizationally speaking, we have people, in our organization. It's our AI is a large focus for us. How do we leverage it in the right ways for many parts of our business? We have pretty innovative learning leaders, mine in particular, who said, let's explore. And so we too went through a pilot, and I'm so glad we did that. We did that. It yielded great results for us to be able to make a really good decision about who to partner with going forward. So um, it's both and the ways that we leverage AI in our organization, supported by our organization, are shared broadly. So we're helping each other grow and learn about the best ways to work with, in this case, AI generated, language translation services. And we have people knocking on our door saying, how are you doing it? I hear about this thing. What's happening? So it's hot and heavy for us right now. It has been for some time, but I'm grateful for the learning leaders in our organization. I'm one of 3 instructional design leaders who have folks who are working diligently to, learn how to improve their designs and the ways they work when we know work has to be translated.
And I would like to echo something that Crystal mentioned. Also, the fear factor is real. There's a lot of talk about how ethical AI is or isn't. Are we replacing human interactions? But something really interesting that we found along the way is that we actually have more interaction across our teams and across different departments than ever before because we are all tackling this sort of daunting translation initiative together. And so in each region where we have languages, that target languages that we're translating into, we have a champion for each language who is helping us review the content. And so I've actually had the opportunity to work with colleagues across time zones. I see Param here. And I know it's late for some of my colleagues, so thank you so much for being on. But we've worked together more closely than ever before, and it's just been really interesting to dispel some of those fears around AI of people being replaced. I think we just have to learn how our roles evolve in using the technology and reviewing the technology, and it's been a really great process.
Yeah, I feel like, Derek, there's so much of that of either being requested to use AI or AI is a huge initiative, and you're like, how do I even get started? Like, it's how do I leverage this to make me better at my job and really use the resources that are available? And I think a lot of times that people don't realize that you're using an AI translation tool. Like, you are using that, and it's like dipping your toe in to say, we're using this. Here's the kind of what we do for the next step. And once you get involved and you realize how easy it can make your life, I think people are pretty happy to get on board. Amazing. So, I mean, Chris, are there any other significant efficiencies that you want to call out that AI translation has brought to you in your position?
I would say, so one of the things that I didn't think about initially, right? So we wanted to save time, we wanted to reduce costs, we wanted to improve learner experience, right? But I didn't think about the folks that are actually QAing and developing the content, their learning curve has actually significantly improved. So if you just think about yourself and whatever your first language is, when you consume information in your first language, it's going to stick faster, right? So when we send content over to, say, for instance, I have a partner that I work all the time with in Colombia, and we're trying to implement a new curriculum in Colombia. So I would upload the content into Smartcat, and what I'm finding is that when in the process of QAing, because Smartcat automatically translates the content. So as they're reviewing or QAing, they're reviewing it in their native language. Their uptake of knowledge or their ability to translate that knowledge into like initial stages of application has significantly improved. When I'm having conversations, they understand it already without having to spend more time in detailing how a particular course or curriculum works. They're like the integration of that knowledge has significantly improved. So that was something that was unexpected. It makes complete sense, but definitely a win for us.
Any extra wins, we'll take those too.
All the wins. One of our key values, well, a couple of them, one is inclusion, one is about accountability, shared accountability. And so naturally, when we can deliver learning to people in a way that is, that resonates best for them, um, we're demonstrating inclusion, certainly, and demonstrating, building that shared accountability. We now have work partners in countries and areas of the world that we didn't have 10 minutes before we had them, I mean, there's another phrase um, that I use around this too is we're breaking down the barriers. We're breaking down barriers to people's thinking about how to meet learners where they are in different places around the world, breaking down barriers to leveraging AI, breaking down barriers that happen naturally when you have a large matrix organization, breaking down those barriers and being more collaborative with work teams across the globe. So it really leveraging a tool like Smartcat, dipping your toe in and then diving in when you're ready with the right people around you, can really break down some of those barriers that maybe, at least in some cases, we don't even realize are there. So it has definitely also helped from a function standpoint, from a learning function standpoint. We now have a workforce with skills and experiences and knowledge around leveraging AI for language that we didn't have. And so we're expanding our own set of capabilities in addition to being able to participate in expanding those of the people that we serve as learners.
And you truly are being trailblazers. I mean, I've seen in the comments already throughout this presentation, all three of you being thanked for bringing AI translation to the business, for being kind of an innovator. And I mean, thank you for introducing Smartcat to our team and making it more easy to execute and reduce error. That's for Derek. So I mean, there's so much opportunity, and I think that that's such a great way to upskill not only your teams but also yourselves and try something new as you go through the process. I would love to hear about an example where AI translation really changed then accelerated the time to market. Was it a new product, a clinical trial, or a regulatory submission? Can you share a story about where it's impacting things down the line?
I would say for us, I already mentioned seat time, which was a big, big win. And then the other practical win, of course, I would say the benefits are priceless to using a service like SmartCat and to leveraging AI, but you really can put a price on the ultimate savings, not just time, but also financially. We were looking at around 15 to 20 courses that we needed to translate as part of our onboarding curriculum. And I actually asked an AI assistant, what is the average cost per word to have that outsourced? And it was 10 to 30 cents. So if you think about, I mean, even if you go sort of middle of the estimate, 20 cents per 10,000 words times 15 e-learnings times 6 languages, that gets out of control pretty quickly budget wise. And so just the savings on time and on money, it was incredible for us. And the fact that people were getting straight into the information, they're getting a 15, maybe 20-minute max e-learning, whereas they would have had an hour-long session before, an instructor-led training. It's the savings time-wise and financially are just incredible.
Love hearing that.
One
Chris?
example of speed to market for us is speed to being able to deliver, as I mentioned earlier, being able to deliver some key leadership capability training at a particular point in the year that falls in line with compensation and bonus for leaders across the world. And so we want to be able to get to those learners as soon as we possibly can. So undoubtedly, the number of labor hours that we saved and dollars that we saved to be able to meet those learners at the timeline that the business was expecting. I mean, far and away, it was one of the hugest early wins we could have we could have had, is to be able to deliver all the content at the same time around the world. And that was so goal number one, check. and and great things have happened as a result. So as we get on, I'll talk about some of those too.
So Carmel, let me just ask you a question. So you said you're able to deliver it all at the same time now. How long previously would it have taken you? What would you have done in other languages, or would you have done a scaled kind of rollout?
Well, to meet any sort of requirements, any sort of regional requirements, because this is one example of a learning that we say is required by folks. So we might be doing in the past, bare minimum expectations because there's a requirement in that particular country that any required learning, or any mandated learning be translated. Above and beyond that, we really didn't have the means, other than with an outsourced partner, to meet any extra languages. So in the times that we did expand the number of languages, the cost would was to the business. And so to help kind of bring those two things more in line with what's important for us, and that's being good stewards of you know, good financial stewards, as well as, meeting these learners all at the same time so that they wouldn't be behind, learners in another country wouldn't be behind because we couldn't get the training to them at the same time. So, um, the time savings was probably had the most significant impact on our being able to deliver all at once and being able to work with languages all at once, not one at a time, and really mobilize people and resources around the effort rather than the long wait times of a vendor where we had very little control about how the work was getting done.
So I just want to piggyback off of that and tie in what you just shared, Camilla, as in addition to what Derek shared. So one of the things that's awesome about the platform, like you said, that you're able to do multiple languages at the same time and the speed to impact of it is also around the file types, right? So when you look at translating videos, when Derek mentioned cost savings, historically, translating and transcribing videos are more expensive, right? So you combine those two benefits, and it's just amazing for any business, right? We're able to transcribe and translate videos in numerous language in addition to adding voiceover that doesn't sound computerized in minutes versus weeks, sometimes even months, right? Because you got to find the voiceover actor, you got to do the transcription. So that when we talk about speed to impact, that was also really amazing for our organization, is to combine all of those different elements. And in a matter of minutes, I could take a video from one of our leaders, transcribe it, translate it in several different languages, assign different partners around the world to QA it. That process would have taken several weeks, if not months.
It's crazy. And that, in addition to the cost savings, I think you were telling me an example before, Chris, about how much you were getting a quote from a vendor and then what it was to do it internally. Can you share that story?
Yeah, so working with my South American partners, they had gotten a quote to do, I think it was like 87 projects, right? And it was close to $1 million or just around $1 million. And we were able to start my Smartcat pilot, which I want to say we started off with around 14,000 or 13,000 is what the pilot we got approved for the pilot. And we translated half of those projects where the initial quote was $1 million. So it's not finished yet, but just imagine, right? If we were able to do the other half for totaling around 26 to $28,000 USD, which initially would have cost $1 million. So it just makes sense. And beyond the cost, obviously the time saving, how quickly we were able to get those projects into the marketplace, enhance learning. So all of that.
That's amazing. Thank you. And hopefully Stephen just asked that question saying it's all about sometimes a money thing to get your business case out there. And I mean,
Yeah.
there you go. There's the information you need to provide. And I think everything else that surrounds it helps with all of the other pieces of the puzzle that you're kind of building to your use case that you're presenting to the company. But I think it always helps to strengthen when you have numbers like that. So thank you. So, I mean, tell me a little bit about some of the lessons learned. Like we like to say that it's not always going to be a smooth journey. So it's good for everyone to learn, we'll say, from your experiences and challenges as you go through. Anything specific that any of you would like to share in the whole process?
One of our couple of key lessons is, boy, does it really, strengthen adaptability, right? I mean, we have tools are moving quickly, AI tools, they're evolving at a very quick pace. Different tools do different things. Heck, even from the time we've started with Smartcat, we've consistently becoming aware of additional things that the platform can do and ways that we might leverage it going forward. So I think a key lesson learned is a mindset around what you learn today, expect more tomorrow. It's evolving quickly. Another lesson learned for us as we really were building our internal capabilities around all of this, and leveraging Smartcat is you got to have a team of people. You got to have some folks paying attention to it with you and doing the parts that they're good at so that you can do the parts you're good at. And together you come up with a way of working this, or can come up with a way of working this, that's also fun. I mean, we are learning literally all the time. A couple other lessons learned. We're instructional designers and developers, by trade. We think we have all the, and we often do have all the right approaches from a design standpoint. And we're thinking about all the user experience aspects and ways to make our learning, as inclusive as it can be. And we have standards around writing and the like. This process, going through this for us, taught us even more ways that we can continuously improve our writing guidelines, aspects of design that we frankly take for granted because we've been doing them a certain way so long. um, but engaging in this work and engaging with a global audience more meaningfully and consistently, it's turned the mirror on us too, to say, okay, what can we do in our own processes and guidelines as a learning organization, um, to continue to improve? So be open-minded, always be learning, have a great team around you, which I am completely biased, and rightfully so. I have the best one. And have some fun with it. Really leverage people's strengths. I mean, I consider us incredibly um, fortunate that we have a couple of folks on our team where English is their second language. And so the insight and the awareness that they bring to this work is also really important. So, for example, language, it isn't just words, right? It evokes feeling in people. Words matter. It can be the difference in something that might be offensive to someone versus something that someone else might consider a joke, or so it's really helped us raise an already high bar when it comes to the standards with which we operate to when going out to our learners. So lots of really great lessons.
Yeah, Carmela, you mentioned adaptability, and I think that was our biggest takeaway because as we have implemented more and more AI tools on our team, I think either you or Chris mentioned earlier that people start to take note and they start to ask questions and how could I use this on a big project I have coming up? And I think the feedback that we receive the most from people as we put these AI tools out there is that people feel overwhelmed because this is such a hot topic. There's so many tools to choose from. And so I would definitely second that. Be adaptable and don't feel that you have to implement every single new tool that comes out just because it's exciting and it's flashy. Um, I like to use the example years ago. I know we don't really focus on physical media so much anymore, but of Blu-rays versus HD DVDs, right? Both of those were really cool. They were the next thing for home video, and Blu-rays survived and their competition didn't. So, try to identify a need and work your way back. Really use your need to drive the tool, and that's what we did with Smartcat. We have a whole tool belt that we've put together, and Smartcat met that specific important need of file types that there was no other platform that was able to translate so many file types. And even on a global team, like Carmela mentioned, in one region one tool may not be accessible. I see Livia in the chat also. We've had that issue where you really have to adapt, find alternatives, and not get too attached to the hot new tool or feel like you have to immerse yourself 100%. Sort of pick and choose what works for you and make your own toolkit.
It's so true. It's so easy to be swayed by the new shiny object, but I think all of you have said it's really about finding what works for you and identifying like those efficiency issues or the production issues, and then really working from there. And I think that's just a great way to think about any new technology. And listen, we can't be afraid of new technology. We kind of have to get on board. Remember when the internet was going to, take all of our jobs and blow up the world? And look at us now, all on the internet all the time. So it's kind of it's an opportunity for growth. And I think that that's kind of an amazing opportunity for everyone to test out. So are there any emerging trends in AI driven language solutions that really you're like, this is it. This gets me out of bed in the morning. I'm excited. I don't need my coffee. I'm ready to go. Is there anything that does that for you?
So I'm fascinated by like the lip syncing dub within AI. So the way that you're able to translate content and the mouths match the words. That is something that's emerging, and I think Smartcat is making great strides in that. And it's just really cool, right? It really creates a truly customized experience. It doesn't seem like a remake for folks. So I think that's really cool.
It's so true. The content development really can feel very relatable and natural, or it can feel very not. So I'm glad that we're making such great strides there. How about Carmela, Derek? What do you think? What are you excited about?
Yeah, so even as we started our journey in leveraging AI for language, we acknowledge that and have experienced, where there are challenges in certain places, like from, your right to left languages, present different challenges than some of the Romance languages. And so that as that evolves and improves, we're here for that, where that's important for us. Um, so we're at a different stage even than Chris and what you talked about. So we are looking at content creation. Our sole aim initially was around translation. And so we are learning more about the platform as we go on from here. So we're excited to learn what's possible from a content creation standpoint within the platform, as we've been primarily up to this point focused on the languages for a particular set of projects. Um, I think anything that can help us interface more directly with all the people that need to be involved in the project, that makes a huge difference. So for us, it helps us from a planning and execution standpoint. Other emerging technologies, in general, we do a lot of learning that is conversational, right? We're having a conversation around a topic and we want to engage, multiple folks in a video format. And so we're looking at how that evolves and becomes, to your point, Chris, more realistic, and it doesn't look machine generated, right? So we have a lot to look forward to, and we've already been seeing how things are evolving um, just in the months that we've been engaged to this point. So we're excited to keep learning.
I think that's the only thing that's going to be constant, right? Change and consistently learning. Derek, tell us what you're excited about.
Chris beat me to it. Avatars are my passion. I can fall down the rabbit hole of playing with avatars and mixing and matching voices. I think obviously you can see behind me, our brand is very colorful and funky, and one of our product portfolios, is represented by a polar bear mascot. And we're not quite there yet, but it looks like we are close to having animal avatars that can move their mouths, lip sync to perfection, and have that translated instantly into new languages. So stay tuned. You never know. But
I'm gonna be
that's
I'm
exciting to
stalking
me.
watching all the
Derek.
people on my team send emojis. I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah,
I love
we were on
that.
actually, full disclosure, we were on another webinar with another platform. I won't name them here. I think Smartcat is also rolling out some of the same features, though. But that was one of the questions I was told to take to this webinar. Can we have animals as avatars? And I
Who
felt
knew?
silly, but the answer was, hey, coming soon. So you never know.
In development.
Yep.
That's amazing. So tell me, I mean, we're wrapping up on time. I would love to hear kind of what's your biggest takeaway from this whole AI translation journey? What would you say really hits home for you?
I'm constantly impressed by what we are able to do that we never imagined we would be able to do. And I think it was Carmela who mentioned this a little earlier. You know, there were trainings before, for example, that were delivered in English, and all of the materials were in English, the PowerPoint decks, all of it. And we had regional trainers who would translate during the live sessions. But there weren't necessarily materials that participants could take away that they could review later. It just wasn't in the budget. There wasn't time on the calendar to be able to do that. And so it's really exciting. One of the things also, the concerns about AI is that it can take away jobs, and that's a very real concern in many environments. But there are tasks here that no one was able to do, no one had the time to do, and we wouldn't have had the budget to do. But they've been instant wins. I noticed in the chat, you know, about the breadth of materials and file types. And yes, you can honestly with Smartcat. I'm not being paid to say this or anything. I hope maybe I get a coffee mug after this out of it. But I can honestly say we've been able to translate PowerPoints in 30 seconds into multiple languages, um, brochures, you know, even PDF files. I mean, it takes a little bit of tweaking sometimes to make sure, you know, we have text on graphics and things like that. That's a bit trickier, but it really has transformed the way that we're able to disseminate materials out into languages that we just wouldn't have been able to do otherwise.
That's amazing. And Derek, I feel like
Mhm.
it's all of those little pieces that will come together, and even like image translator to be able to do that
Exactly.
now. It's a huge
Yeah.
opportunity. And actually, Felicia was asking about, can you use SmartCat with the marketing team for like patient brochures? And that's similar formatting. It's whether it's in a PDF or some other kind of format. If you guys have any other questions, Felicia, thank you for that question. Please put them in the Q&A and we'll get to them now. But let me ask Carmelo or Chris, what other kind of takeaways do you have that you could share?
I would say the biggest takeaway is just start, right? So when I went into it for the pilot, I was asking for everything because SmartCat has a lot of tools, and I had to just scale back a bit, to be honest. And so, for instance, the marketplace is an outside resource where you can contract with linguists for translation. That increases the complication, not complications, but that increases the process of getting a pilot approved, right? So I scaled back and said, listen, I want to translate. I'm going to start with, these particular countries because each country has their different rules around how content is exchanged and so forth. So be very specific. Just start. Have a conversation with your compliance, your regulatory governing agencies, and be very specific in what you do. Have projects identified, have partners identified. And it was really easy. I went to my partners around the world and say, what are your needs and how can I help you? Right? I'm like, I want to get this pilot approved and it's not going to cost you anything. Yeah, there were tons of folks that were raising their
I
hand.
volunteer. Please include me.
Volunteer. So that's what I would say. My biggest takeaway is to go ahead, just start, give it a try. Again, not being paid for this. I just really saw the value and how meaningful it was in for learners experience to be able to learn in their own native language with content that was like specifically designed, right? It wasn't an afterthought. It was very collaborative and so forth. So that's my big takeaway.
I love that. And Carmela, we're already over time, so you wrap us up. What was
I
your
will, I
takeaway?
will. You know, for me, when one of our lead instructional design and development consultants did the numbers and he came back and he said, Carmel, I think we've saved, nearly $300 in labor or 300 labor hours to do project X from then till now. I was like, okay, we are not just taking a small step, we're taking a leap. Um, and I echo Crystal, just get started,
Yeah.
just get
Dip that
started.
toe in, right?
And we are the value that we continue to bring as a learning function, it just, continues to grow, and the skills and the experiences of the people that work on our teams is also growing. So um, jump right in, and we're here to help,
Yeah, so that's exactly why we're hosting, so we can learn from everyone's experience. And we're so grateful to all three of you for sharing your experiences and their learnings and the good and the bad and kind of the whole process. So can't thank you enough for your time. If there's any other questions or if anybody would like to schedule a follow-up meeting, we would love to share some information with you. You can follow each of our speakers on LinkedIn or reach out to them via email. And again, thank you for your time. If we haven't gotten to your question, we'll be sure to reach out afterwards. But thank you again for everything and have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you. Thank you for
everyone.
joining.
bye
Thanks,
for now.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.